Hello, everyone. I'm Papa G. My husband and I own Aroma G's Botanica in Nashville, Tennessee, and we've been around for 26 years now. I'm also the author of 18 books on folklore, folk magic, and magical crafting. And I'm going to be honest, I actually recorded this entire workshop this morning. And when I went back to edit it, it didn't have the heart that I wanted it to. Because my topic is the pagan poverty mentality. And I realized as I was editing it that it really needed to go further, that we needed to also talk about how pagans can get past this mentality of lack, but also to help pagans build stronger and better businesses or stronger and better events or classes or whatever it is you do to help create. And we're not talking about wealth building here, but to create success amongst the pagan community, so that number one, you're not working from a place of lack, and number two, it can be taken more seriously in the community of the world, which translates to having more power, both personal power and community power. So here I am, ready to re-record it a bit. I am gonna consult my notes because I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. But so what is pagan poverty mentality? I don't know if this is true all across the nation. I can only tell you what I've witnessed around the Tennessee, Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia region. But it is this mentality that to be successful is somehow not virtuous. That if your product or your website or your gig or whatever is too polished looking, that you somehow sold out. That you're somehow not a rebel anymore. That you're a part of the system. And what it does is continues to feed into this mentality that the things you offer aren't good enough. It's almost like creating something that can be viewed as lesser than, therefore you must charge lesser than. I've read tarot cards for many, many years, more than 2 decades. And we see it all the time. People who say, well, I don't charge because these are spiritual gifts that I shouldn't be charging for. Now, there's a difference between someone who, like myself, has a website where I have a scheduling system, a booking system on the website where clients can go and book a reading, and you can reach me 5 or 6 days a week. Now, the people that are saying I don't charge for my talents, they're leaving out the equation when they say that they're not taking online bookings and doing it 5 days a week for free. They're occasionally doing a reading for someone. So that's just one example of. Let me try to put this into a better perspective. Sometimes it is the same people who are saying, well, I don't charge for my readings, who you see the next day are putting a post up. My electricity is about to be cut off. What am I supposed to do? Or my phone got shut off, or I can't afford the gas to get to the pagan festival. When they have the talent right there in front of them to create this amazing income with real talent that they have. Yet it is this internal message sent to them that I can't charge for these things. I shouldn't charge for Reiki. I shouldn't charge for my tarot readings. I shouldn't charge fair prices for the products that I hand make, because everyone should be able to afford them. But I should be lacking. At the end of the day, I should be lacking. I shouldn't be able to pay my own bills. I should just offer all of this to the community. Now, guys, you can come from a place of philanthropy when you are at a level to provide philanthropy. We shouldn't do it based on this idea that it is lofty and it is noble to be poor, to put ourselves into bad situations where we cannot thrive. We cannot even buy a book on something that would increase our knowledge. We can't attend the festival that we want to attend. We just say, well, maybe I'll go next year. I was speaking to someone a while back who really wanted to put together a podcast. They had things to say, they had things to put out there, but they couldn't afford a good microphone, and they didn't know how to structure it. I invite anyone to go to YouTube and learn whatever there is. There's tons of things to learn in YouTube University. You can learn to be a good graphic designer for your business. You can learn bookkeeping. There is so much you can learn, and it's free. You just have to be willing to put in the time. But there is this spiritualness behind being broke. It's like professionalism is a sellout move, or really just that wanting comfort and stability or success somehow makes your work less authentic. And it's this mindset that has cost us more shops, more festivals, and more good people who are no longer out in the public anymore offering their services. Hey, no hex could have done this. We've hexed ourselves in this situation, because spirituality doesn't have to be a struggle to be pure. It can stand on its own, and it can still pay the bills. Because let's just describe what pagan poverty mentality really is, and describe it really plainly. It's the belief that lack equals virtue. And to want money or to look professional is somehow less spiritual. And to charge fair prices is greedy. And this mindset confuses humility with self-neglect. It's why you often hear things like, don't charge too much, people won't like it, or you have to keep it, homegrown isn't the right word, but it's like not wanting to make things look too polished or too slick, or suddenly it won't look like it's handmade anymore. Or real pagans don't do it for money because they like to buck against the system. And we're not like the corporate man. You don't have to be like the corporate man. You can actually do things from a logical place that will keep your business or your event or whatever it is you do alive for years to come, instead of it fizzling out a year or two later because it was unprepared. You didn't charge enough. You didn't charge anything. And all of a sudden you're burnt out. Your event's gone. Your product is gone. No one can get it and no one thrives. And a lot of people came to paganism from the outside, where from families or faiths that maybe have taught us that suffering was noble. We were taught that money corrupts things, and that purity requires a sacrifice. It's almost like power and prosperity can't coexist together, but they can. But these messages stuck with a lot of people. And what they did was, instead of building communities or events with heart and purpose, well, they built these things, but they went totally wrong from not giving them the attention they deserved, or personally the attention they deserved. It's why so many pagan businesses start with a great vision, but no plan. They expect their passion to carry out their intentions, but it's really only structure behind it can sustain what you're trying to do. So let me show you ways that it shows up in real life. Number one is underpricing everything. I have, I wouldn't say professionally, consulted is not the right word, but I have helped other people who were starting maybe metaphysical shops or online shops or even Etsy shops or something, about their pricing. And I'm talking about pagan businesses or metaphysical oriented businesses. And it's this mentality of underpricing everything, thinking they want everything to be accessible. They want to keep the prices so low that everyone can buy them and everyone can afford them. And what they tell themselves is, I just want to help people. And, you know, that's admirable. But you can't help anyone when you've run yourself into the ground and out of business because of it. You're not going to be around to host these community events for the people. You're not going to be there to offer these amazing prices because you've run yourself out of business because of it. So low prices don't make your work kind. They make it unsustainable. So here's the irony. Customers often equate low prices with low quality. And you're trying to look generous, but many people see it, you look inexperienced. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other to start and maintain a pagan-oriented or metaphysical-oriented business. And a lot of people also think another thing is that poor planning and the myth of going with the flow. I mean, you've seen it before. There might be a festival that's announced 3 weeks before it opens, or an online class that someone throws together a couple of nights before it happens. And people mistake their enthusiasm for preparation. They think the energy they put behind it is enough. And remember, I'm telling this because I want pagan businesses to succeed. I'm not trying to point fingers. I am trying to explain the traps that people often fall into, and why a lot of businesses and events and things aren't around anymore. Because energy is not enough. You know, we're talking about the vibe energy. Because no amount of excitement replaces organization. I mean, events need lead time. They need months of marketing. They need vendor coordination, clear communication. So throwing things together at last minute doesn't make it magical. It makes it stressful. So if you want your work to succeed, treat planning as a sacred thing. Make planning be your sacred ritual. And another thing is the failure to review and improve. It's another repeating problem where people don't look back at what their mistakes were and how to improve them. So the event ends, everyone's exhausted, and nobody takes the time to go back and evaluate what worked, what didn't, what needs fixing. Instead, they just do the same thing next year and wonder why it went the same way, or it didn't grow, or there were still problems. So that's not tradition, that's stagnation. Real growth means analyzing what went wrong, adjusting it, and improving it. I mean, even large companies do called post-mortem after project planning. But it seems like sometimes within our community, too many organizers see evaluation as criticism. And it's not criticism, it's craftsmanship. It is improving every single year. We have been in business for 26 years, and I can't tell you how many different incarnations we have had, because people change over time. So it's been it's been over a quarter of a century we've been in business. It was 1999. And the customer has changed. We have changed. Technology has changed. I remember, um, God, I don't even remember what date it was. It was quite a while back where a new employee had mentioned Instagram. I was like, oh, nobody's going to, I'm not going to take pictures every day and do that. I don't see what point that gets us. Uh, of course, I was wrong. We're now on Instagram all the time. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, what was Twitter. I hate the word X. What else? TikTok. Not so much. But we're on all the platforms now. And it was something I initially resisted. I can tell you I also initially resisted the smartphone because I liked my BlackBerry. How many people here still have a BlackBerry? So it's all about growth. It's about learning new things and new ways to improve. And I can tell you our website has changed over the years many, many times. But there's one thing I've noticed over many pagan websites is a lot of them still look like they came straight out of 1995. Black backgrounds, green letters, clip art that has been around for a quarter of a century. And if you don't have the skills, that's fine. But you can learn new skills, just like I've had to learn new skills. I'm still learning new skills. Now I'm struggling with learning online selling because it is the current trend and it's going to stay. We're learning how to use AI for our business, not only our business, but also my personal business, my book publishing business, my work I do with clients. And I'm not talking about creating pictures with AI. You can use AI to help you structure a business, to help you write an operating procedures. You can ask it things that say, I have this idea for this particular thing, and here's the things I know. I know this and this and this and this and this. And then you can ask a chatbot, tell me the things that I left out about this. What am I missing? What parts of this equation have I left out? And it will help you fill it in and help you build a better framework, a better structure. If you're trying to do a business or whatever, and it can be a little business. It can be a tarot reading business. You can actually ask it, what are the best websites that will help me learn how web design? Or where's the best place for me to get free templates? And you're going to find that out. Of course, also, there's this fear of professionalism. So let's talk about this because it might sting a little bit. Our community's fear of professionalism. And I've lost count of how many times I've heard, I don't want it to look too corporate. We like keeping, grassroots. Well, grassroots and amateur are two different things. And we all start out amateur, but we've got to grow. We got to learn. We have to expand. So sometimes people's version of grassroots just means they're disorganized. And it's okay to turn to friends that are better at something you do. So, having a clean design and clean messaging and a reliable structure so people can find what you're offering, whether it be a business or an event or an organization. It could be your charity you're putting together. That's respectful of your audience. that you're not trying to make them squint across a black screen with green letters and a witch flying across the moon. Sorry if I just described anyone's website. I'm not looking at one, I promise. This is coming straight out of my head. But when someone else who does have experience offers help, maybe it's a friend with design or marketing experience or a successful shop owner, oftentimes people who offer this help get turned away because people dig in their heels because they don't want to admit what they don't know. And I've never had a problem with that. I will tell you what I don't know. And I will ask you about it because I want to know. I want to learn how to improve what I do, what our business does, how we can reach more people, how we can be better with the community. And, we own and run the Tennessee Folk Magic Festival, which it just held its eighth annual. If it weren't for COVID, it would have been the 10th anniversary. But at one time, there was someone, a friend who, at the time, who wanted to lecture me and said, "You can't hold a festival. I've spent years learning how to do this and studying them, and I'm going to do one day, and you've got to do this and this and this and this and this." But I just did it. Roy and I just put it together. We structured out how it should be. And yeah, the first year was not as polished as it is now. It didn't flow as well now. But I can say that person who gave me that advice that you can't do this, and I've been studying this, still hasn't done one. So it's a decade later, and we're doing it, but we're still learning. We're still learning, hey, this flowed, this didn't. This held up traffic. You can't put out all the food first thing because it'll all be gone. You have to put it out and stagger it. You have to give this amount of time between the classes, which we always film, so that there's time for the one person to talk to all the people who have questions, to take down their props, and for the next person to set up. It's just something you learn over time. But that's the point I'm making, is some organizations or businesses don't ever learn from their mistakes. They don't step back and say, what worked, what didn't, and how can I fix it and make it better next year? And usually what always makes it better is planning ahead. Our event is the second Sunday in September every year. And I start planning it in April. And I start promoting it usually around the end of May. And we always have a completely packed house. So structure and planning are everything. And it doesn't make your event less spiritual. It doesn't make it less ritualistic. It makes it flow. It makes everyone have a good time. It makes it less stressful. So remember, you're not stripping away spirituality by adding structure. And as far as websites go, remember, your website is your handshake with the world. If it looks outdated, people assume your business is outdated. And the fix is really simple these days. It is clarity, not clutter. You got clean design, readable text, consistent colors throughout, and not 8 different fonts. And there's lots of websites that look plenty witchy. Plenty, however you want to put it, spooky, or some people like the spooky aesthetic, some like the witchy, some like the Norse look. Plenty look like that, but they're still very structured, very organized, and you can find the content you're looking for and buy the things you want to. So resistance to feedback is sort of a blind spot problem. Here's the hardest truth. Many people who need to hear this the most won't think it apply. They don't think it applies to them. They just sort of nod along. I'm sitting here talking about this. They go, "Oh, you're talking about someone else. You're not talking about my event. You're not talking about my business because I know what I'm doing." But they never take a second look and say, "Do I? I mean, I do. I do it every day. How can I improve this year's Christmas season or Yule season in the store over last year's or over the previous 24 years before that?" We all continuously learn until the day we die. So the real danger isn't in making mistakes. It's refusing to see them. Every thriving business person I know learns from other people. And every failed one, though, they refuse to grow and refuse to learn. So another thing you can do is you assign tasks by strengths, not sentiments. So don't assign tasks based on who's available or who deserves a chance. And sometimes you have to do that because you have very few volunteers. But learn what people's strengths are. This person has this strength and this weakness. I'm not going to assign them something that is their weakness. Just because you've got someone who loves numbers, you don't necessarily put them in charge of bookkeeping. They may love to do it, but are they any good at it? But if someone's great with people, make them your vendor coordinator. The person who hates writing, don't make them in charge of doing your website or press releases or whatever. So, a successful event or business is like casting a show. Everyone needs to be in the right role to do what they're best at. Or they also need to have the capacity to learn more about what they're good at and become great at it. So the cost of staying small is having sort of this lack of mentality. It doesn't just drain your people's bank accounts. It limits possibilities. When people stay small out of fear and not wanting to learn more, they never reach the audience who needs them. I mean, they turn down growth opportunities because they think success will make them, once again, less spiritual. So they build fragile systems that collapse the moment stress hits. And meanwhile, larger, better organized groups are going to fill in that void. So we need to start reframing what prosperity means. So prosperity isn't greed, it's sustainability. It means having enough to create a stable network to do the work you want without constant crisis. It means being able to pay your bills or your staff or yourself on time and not worry, are the lights going to be cut off? Do I have enough gas to get to work? It means being able to give back because you have actually created such a strong foundation that you can help others who are in lack. So money isn't unspiritual. Greed is. Being good with money, being good with finances, building a strong foundational business doesn't have to mean you're not a spiritual person. You don't have to be greedy to have a good relationship with money, because when we reject money, we reject the ability to sustain the work that matters the most. So here's what some successful pagan businesses do differently. Price for survival, not for guilt. And yes, I said guilt. Some people feel this guilt about what they think is charging too much. They'll make a candle that it costs for them $5 to make it, and they charge $6. That dollar is not going to pay. They didn't even include what it cost them to have the wax shipped to them, the glass shipped to them, the wick. They're not doing the math. And what happens is over time, because they feel guilty. They feel like, oh, I shouldn't charge that much. I want everyone to be able to buy my candles. And then they find out a year later that they can't afford to make them anymore, so they quit doing it, and no one gets your candles. I know someone who owned an herb business many years ago, and they gave away so many things. They kept giving away or undercharging. Oh, they need that. They need that. I've got to give it to this person. They need that. And then one day they looked up and wondered, well, why is it that I can't afford to order any more herbs and I can't pay my rent and I have to close? This is what I'm talking about here. So you're not doing anyone a service by underpricing or undervaluing what you create, because you're not going to be there for them later on in the years. You're not going to continue to offer that for them because you've run yourself out of business. So, successful pagan businesses or organizations plan ahead. You delegate by skill. Who's good at something? You invest in your presentation. And this means branding and signage and websites that are clean and modern, but still have the aesthetic that you want. Also, accepting feedback. It's important to accept feedback, absorb it, and learn what you don't know, and be honest with yourself about what you can improve on, what didn't work, and what could be better. And then analyze those results. And then, this balances out spirituality with practicality. So it's this understanding that financial health can be part of spiritual integrity. And these aren't corporate values. They're like community survival skills. So, thriving is a form of resistance. I think instead of, now let me explain. A lot of people think that I can just rough it on my own. I'm going to reject the big guy. I'm going to reject being a corporate greed, or what, which is fine when you're actually talking about big corporations. But some people will end up translating that to small businesses, and they don't realize they're doing that. So when they reject all forms of structured businesses, some are mom and pops that actually just have a really good sense of making themselves look larger or look well organized. So thriving can be a form of resistance. You don't have to boycott everyone who you think looks too professional, too polished. And I'm only going to go to the one little shop that looks like they're struggling. They may be struggling for a reason. For too long, pagans have worn struggle like this badge of honor. We've confused exhaustion with authenticity. Because poverty isn't sacred. And I'm not talking about, and I haven't been talking about this entire time, people who are poor based on really bad circumstances, lack of chances. I'm talking about people who are willfully at a poverty level, who choose it because they think it's noble or it's more spiritual. So, that kind of poverty isn't sacred. Chaos isn't authenticity. And disorganization isn't rebellion. We all deserve better than to scrape by. Everyone deserves to afford to go to the dentist if you need to go to that event that you're wanting to go to instead of putting it off each year, because often that year never comes. You deserve to go take that tarot reading class so you can improve your skills, so you can charge more, or at least charge consistently. Or maybe go take that how to design a website class, or maybe there's a book you've been wanting to write, but maybe you're not the best writer. Maybe you need to go take a refresher course. Whatever it is, you actually deserve to be the best version of yourself you can be, and lack does not contribute to that. Because when we succeed, the whole community rises with us. Thriving doesn't mean selling out. It means you're showing up. You're showing up to actually be here, present in the moment, to show off your skills, show that they are worthy. And, we weren't born to barely get by. You were born to create, and to teach, and to build. And if the pagan community has any chance of rising up, finding their voice, being heard, they have to do it from a place of authenticity, from having a clear message, and getting that message out there to people who will actually listen. But no one's going to be able to hear you if you didn't plan ahead. No one knows you're saying something because you're screaming in the dark. But yes, that is the gist of what I had to say, is about you deserve more. Never let anyone tell you that your work is not worthy. And please, please charge what your creativity is worth. I promise you that someone will pay it. And it's okay to give friends discounts now and then, but don't give everyone a discount, because you're not going to be around anymore to offer those discounts. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it has not been too pointed. I want everyone to be able to thrive, and not just survive. So once again, I'm Papa G. If you want to see what I do, my website is folkmagicstudio.com, and our shop, Aroma G's Botanica, is at aromags.com. Thanks.